Alright, guys, what's going on? It's just me again. I told you guys that I was going to make a video today, so I'm here. Please excuse the background. You might see my cat walk by a couple times, but that's okay. It was on my spirit today to talk about singleness. Little did I realize, and this is something that I've had to kind of learn. Sorry. Something that I've realized about being single is the view of being single. And being single for me has not always been easy. But from my experience and my perspective, at least, because I've been single for so long and all of my relationships have been so spread out, it really hasn't been something that I've seen as unusual. So recently, I've been seeing this trend, and I can't really say it's a trend. I'm going to say it's more of like an opinion on social media. Just how to put it lightly, I guess. That singleness is seen as like a curse. That being single is seen as there's something wrong with the other person. And I'm just going to be honest. For anybody who really feels like somebody who is single, that there's something wrong with them, you are wrong. And not only are you wrong, but you're as wrong as everybody else who agrees with that. Here's why I say that. And I actually heard a speaker talk about this, and they said it perfectly. If you guys don't know who this is, please check out Coach Rod. Literally, Coach Rod on YouTube. He made a video about this, and he touched perfectly on this topic. You never know what a single person is going through. I have personally known a lot of people in my life who are single. I'm single myself. And most of the time, I would say about 99% of the time, they are single because there has been some sort of abuse. Emotionally, mentally, physically, they got cheated on multiple times. They've had all sorts of problems. So sometimes being single is literally to benefit you. It's not seen as something that's a bad thing. Society says that being single is seen as there's something wrong with you. And I just don't understand that. Like, even as I'm saying it and I'm speaking on it, it's something I really don't understand. But I wanted to touch on this topic, and I'm just going to be completely honest. Being single for me, when I first kind of was in relationships, I depended a lot on relationships, and I'll get into that later, maybe later on in future videos, but for me, relationships were more of a safety net, which can be a good thing. Being in relationships is not bad. I'm not anti-relationship, but at least from my experience, I was in relationships because it was a safety net for me because I was insecure. So I was coming from a place of insecurity in my relationships, and I was going to constant relationships literally all the time, and it was just nonstop. I was meeting one person, and then we'd have a relationship, and then we break up, and then the next person comes along a week later. So there was really not a transition period for me to heal and just be myself. So for so many years, and I would literally say about 7 years, I was just constantly in a routine of relationships and situationships. And I finally just decided to just put an end to all of that. There are a lot of reasons why, but for me, it was spiritual. I got to a place I just felt I was giving so much of myself to people who didn't care about me, who thought about me like I was the gum on the bottom of somebody's shoe. I was dealing with people who were lying to me about who they were sleeping around with. At one point I was being cheated on. So for me, my initial, really serious part of being single, it was hard for me. When you're so used to being in relationships consistently and then you stop, it is a culture shock. It really is. But in that singleness and every day, literally, it doesn't just stop at a certain point. Being single for me is a growth period. It is a period right now where I can be the best version of who I could be. I don't have anybody in my ear cheating on me or disrespecting me or disregarding me or neglecting me. I would rather be single and be happy with who I am as a person and who I am as a woman to be with someone that's going to disabuse me all the time, or disrespect me, or neglect me, or cheat on me. So I really hope our society gets to a place, especially for women, because there's such a pressure on single women. And again, this is something I'm still puzzled about. There are so many single women, and yet there is so much more pressure for women to be held accountable and to be the best version of who they can be, which is not bad. But let's be honest. Now, this is not a man bashing session. I'm not bashing men. I'm not on a man rampage. But I'm just keeping it real. Our society has fostered an environment where there is so much more accountability for women to be the best who they can be, which is not a bad thing. But in order for us to be the best who we can be as single people, there has to be an accountability for the behaviors that society has fostered for men specifically. Just some basic double standards. You know, when a woman is sexually active, she's seen as certain things that I won't say on camera. But when it's a situation where a man is sexually active and he's actively dating and possibly sleeping with all these women at the same time, it's seen as he's cool, he's attractive. So society has fostered this idea, and social media does not help, where men aren't being held accountable. It's just how it is. Take it or leave it, it's true. Men are not being held accountable. I cannot tell you, just from what I have heard on social media, stories that I've read of women who were married, you know, for 10, 15 years, 20 years, and they get an STD from their partner. But yet society blames the woman for not putting up with the behavior and staying with the man, even though he may cheat on her. I just... Do you guys see where I'm coming from with this perspective? I hope that this really opens up a door for you guys to really think. And I've honestly, I'm kind of learning myself. This is not a perfect process being single. But what we need to do is we need to have honest, accountable conversations. There is no greater place than for all of us to be in a place of accountability. Whether you are a woman or you are a man, it is our individual responsibility to be the best we could be, whatever that is for you. You cannot take a unwhole person who is single and get with another person who is unwhole and put them together and they are two unwhole people. That is a misconception that I had to learn the hard way. We cannot, as people who are single, and even if you're in a relationship or you're married, in order for us to be the best who we could be, we have to be the whole person ourselves. And if you're like me and you are a woman of faith, you know that our wholeness does not come from us, it comes from God. God makes us whole. We cannot be a half-whole person with another half-whole person and make a half-whole relationship or a half-whole marriage. I won't speak on marriage much because I'm not married. So I will only briefly mention that. But I hope that you guys can understand, just because I'm passionate about being single, because I've been single for so long and I'm thriving. I'm not just trudging along in my singleness. I am thriving. I wake up every day and I just feel at peace. And there is a peace that we can get to in that phase of singleness to where we can really open up a place for us to grow. I'm not condemning anybody and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but we have to be honest. Our society has grown this conception that we don't have to be accountable to anyone or anything. So we have a bunch of people in relationships or possibly even marriages that they post on social media, everything's fine and dandy, but 50% of marriages fail. And I'm pretty sure it's even more. But last time I checked, half of marriages fail. I am not going to speak on the why, But can you imagine how many more relationships are failing than marriages? If half of all marriages fail, imagine how many more relationships fail. And we as a society, we have to be holding each other accountable for our actions. This is really as far as I'm going to go right now on singleness. I'll make more videos, but right now I really just wanted to get this point across. And this is just for myself and for anybody who is watching who is single and who has been single. Either you are a man or a woman, it does not matter. Being single is not a bad thing. We must change our perception on singleness and what it really looks like and what it actually means. You are happier being single than to be with someone who's going to bring you down and take you away from your purpose and disrespect you and cheat on you and neglect you. You are better off being single. You are better off being by yourself than having somebody else that you're in a relationship with hurt you in the end. Period. I can attest to this. Trust me. If there's anybody that can attest to being in a toxic situationship with someone, not just someone, multiple people, and breaking away from that and being in a much healthier place, I'm telling you, it is possible. Don't let society define what your singleness should be. If there's anybody that can define your phase of singleness, it is God. And if you don't believe in God, define it for yourself. This is a Christian content channel. So that's just my perspective of where I'm going to come from. But from whatever phase you're in your singleness, I challenge you. Take a piece of paper. It can be a small one. I've got a huge notebook. Take a piece of paper and just write down 5 pros and 5 cons. And I want you just to write them down. And then take a little break, come back, and just look at your own perspective. How is your brain perceiving singleness? And you'll be surprised. I had to change my view on it as well. I was honestly very scared to enter the phase of being a single woman initially. Even though I've been primarily single, most of my relationships were serious. So, I was coming from a place of I would go through periods of being in a serious committed relationship, and then I would be single for a long time. And then I would be in another serious committed relationship, and then I'd be single for a long time. So I'm just coming from the perspective of 98% of the relationships that I've been in are serious. And now I'm in a complete single season. And when I tell you I'm single, I am single. Period. Nothing is happening. That's just how it is. So I hope that this encourages you guys. I hope that this opens up a conversation with your friends, with your family, with yourself. Be encouraged. Being single is not a bad thing. If anybody tells you, they're wrong. Our society, our culture, and our generation in general is just fostering this. Being in a relationship that's toxic is better than being alone. That's just a misconception. That's totally wrong. All right, have a good day. I hope that you share this video. Please like and subscribe. Again, I'm not here for the views. I'm not even here for the likes. But any support is appreciated. I hope that y'all have a good day and be blessed.